Mandy was fixed a few days before World Finals and the community is exploding.
Byron bug, Willow bug, Mandy buff 3 days before Worlds, it's so over.
Buff Mandy and RT 3 days before Worlds, no way.
Buff Mandy and let RT walk on water. Might as well release the 2 new brawlers at this point for Worlds.
So, does that mean RT and Mandy will have balance changes tomorrow 3 days before Worlds?
So this video features the best tips and tricks to help you play the toughest cookie in Brawl Stars, Mandy. Alright, so to start with this guy, let's go to talk about Mandy's main attack, Candy Dispenser. Mandy shoots a long-range candy projectile that deals high damage. If Mandy stands still, her focus bar begins to charge. Her focus bar takes 0.45 seconds to charge up, and when fully charged, her attack's ranges increase. However, its damage output remains the same. Now, when you're using Mandy's main attack, no matter what, do not waste her ammo. Even though her reload speed is better than many other sharpshooters, you want to fire your shots accordingly to keep the enemies a good distance away from you. She also doesn't have a lot of health, so the only way is to use her attacks and or super for defense. Now, since Mandy has such a long main attack range, you need to use that to your advantage. As Mandy lacks any defensive abilities that are effective at close range, be sure to pick off assassins or tanks first and make sure to check bushes from a safe distance. Mandy thrives at long distances, so any high health brawler that can get within range of her is in for an easy kill most of the time. Now, another thing that you should be doing with Mandy most of the time is playing her passively. Due to Mandy's fast projectile speed and reliance on her focus ability, she should take a defensive role in most teams. With her long range and high damage output, she should be lagging slightly behind to use her superior range to deter enemy brawlers. Now, here's a pro tip you must know about Mandy's focus bar. When Mandy stands still, the moment her focus bar is charged, quickly fire a shot and immediately retreat. By moving after you shoot, you still get the benefit of the additional range, but can also dodge incoming shots in time. This is useful when you're at low health, but still want to maintain control of the map. Now, an amateur mistake I see all the time is that people just stay focused for too long, leaving them vulnerable. Mandy needs to hide in bushes or behind walls to protect herself to make it as difficult as possible for the enemies to hit you. If you can't even do that, you need to stay outside of the enemy's attack range at all times, since you are making yourself such an easy target. Now, even though you need to stand still to focus on Mandy, don't hesitate to move. If you need to move, just move. Even when she's not focused, she still has decent sniper abilities and range. Most players will get hit and lose more than half of their health and proceed to still not move. Practice aiming while moving and don't rely on the star power to make shots easier for you. Now, another good thing about Mandy's long main attack range is you can use it to abuse diagonal angles. You can provide support in an adjacent lane while standing still, so just help a teammate out. Even with Mandy's projectile speed buffs, you can still help out your teammate without being focused, so use that quick projectile speed to your advantage. But okay, that's gonna be it for Mandy's main attack. Let's go and talk about her super Sugar Ray. Mandy sends out a very long range large sugar blast after a 0.75 second delay. The blast deals very high damage, can pass through enemies and walls, and it keeps traveling until it disappears after 3 seconds. Mandy is also immobile while performing her super, and if hit with a stun, pull, or knockback during the delay, her super will be cancelled. When focusing, Mandy's super can cross the entire map regardless of what game mode she's playing. Now, one tip I do have when using Mandy's super is to use it off screen so the enemies can't see you using it. The difference between amateur Mandy players and pro Mandy players is their ability to predict where the enemies are. A lot of the time it is luck, you can't lie about that, but having the game sense to time up where the enemies might be is key to hitting more supers. Now, if you guys want a tip on how to connect with more supers, you need to listen to this next one. All you need to do is point your super at choke points across the map where enemies would frequently camp at. Behind key walls is a great place to constantly aim at, or if there's a singular choke point enemies must cross in order to get to mid, that's probably the best area to fire your super to. Now, the good thing about Mandy's super is you can even use it defensively. Even if you use your super onto aggro brawlers charging at you and they don't die, hopefully you lower them down enough where your teammates can finish them off for you. Now, to counter Mandy's super, there's a couple of key things you can do to counter it. When playing against the Mandy, be sure to spread out and avoid choke points, as Mandy's superior range means she can easily snipe anybody approaching a choke point and can team wipe fairly easily if her super is charged. Just don't ever stack up and group up together when playing against the Mandy, especially when you know she has her super. Now another thing you should not be doing when facing a Mandy with her super is walking in a straight line. Try to avoid forming straight lines with your teammates, as Mandy can recharge her super in 2 super hits, allowing her to chain off the both of you. You always want to make your movements unpredictable and make it as hard as possible for Mandy to cycle her supers. Now another thing you cannot do when Mandy has her super is hiding behind walls. When low on health against a Mandy with her super, try to avoid hiding behind walls to recover health, since a skilled player will be able to remember where you're hiding and they can snipe you. Especially players that have good game sense and know where everything is on the map, it's just gonna be an easy kill for them. But okay, that's gonna be it for Mandy's super. Let's go and talk about her gadgets, but the first one I want to talk about is Caramelize. Activating this gadget allows Mandy's next attack to fire a projectile that slows enemies it hits for 2.5 seconds. Now this gadget is gonna be great to counter tanks, assassins, or any aggro brawler. Mandy can use her Caramelize gadget to slow down tanks and assassins or make picking them off easier. This might buy Mandy some more time to reload or run away if she is low on health. Now a tip when using this gadget is I recommend using your gadget first and then use your super. Since the enemy will be slowed down for the next 2.5 seconds, that should give you enough time to use your super and hit the enemy if you have it charged. Most of the time you can just auto aim it, kind of like the interaction with B. With B you can use your super to slow down the enemy and then auto aim your supercharged shot. So do the same thing with Mandy. Now the only time I'd recommend you run this gadget is on maps that don't have any walls or bushes. Since Cookie Crumbs is used to shoot through walls, in every other scenario where there aren't many walls, you need to use Caramelize. Either that or if you are drafting and you see the enemies are running aggro brawlers. No point in using a gadget that is made to shoot through obstacles where there aren't a lot on the map. Now I know I said to use this gadget with Mandy's super, but a lot of amateur players misuse this combination. What you really need to be doing is connect with your gadget, but instead of using your super immediately after, fire one more main attack. This way you can lower down the enemy even more and increase your chances of killing that enemy. Now to counter this gadget, try to bait Mandy to waste this shot. Your only option is to try and dodge the shot, since the projectile is smaller than her normal shots. Once you get hit, you are in major trouble unless you can retreat behind cover so you don't die. But okay, that's gonna be for Mandy's first gadget. Let's go and talk about her second gadget, Cookie Crumbs. Activating this gadget allows Mandy's next attack to pass through enemies and walls. Now as I previously stated, you should be picking Cookie Crumbs on more closed off maps. In maps with more walls or walls that can provide decent cover for offensive brawlers, Mandy should pick Cookie Crumbs as her gadget to snipe enemies hiding from her. This is a great way to continue pressure and constantly keep the enemies on their toes. Now the reason why this gadget is used 99% of the time is because it can counter so many types of brawlers in the game. Generally go with this gadget against throwers, snipers with slow projectile speeds, or brawlers that wall peek all game. Basically any brawler that relies even the slightest on obstacles to stay alive and gain pressure, you need to be running this gadget to counter them. Now I love Cookie Crumbs personally because I can use it to finish off weak enemies. You should use this gadget to finish off enemies as they retreat to hide behind walls or to force them back after you hit them. This is frustrating since you believe that you're safe hiding behind obstacles, but lo and behold, Cookie Crumbs is helping Mandy finish the kill. Now another time you should use this gadget if you are one shot away from your super. This can come in handy if you need to charge your super and you only need one more shot to get it. This can surprise your target since you can hit the enemy, charge your super, and then use your super to finish them off if they aren't already dead. Now to counter this gadget, I would recommend just staying away from walls or standing farther back from the wall. If you stand farther back from the wall, then you will give yourself a bit more time to hopefully dodge the Cookie Crumbs gadget. Either that or just stay away from walls completely so that Mandy can't get any value using the gadget onto you. But okay, that's gonna be for Mandy's gadgets. Let's go and talk about her star powers, but the first one I want to talk about is In My Sights. When Mandy's focus bar is charged, her attack projectile speed is increased. However, Mandy's attack projectile speed is normal again after she starts moving. Now this star power is used like pretty much amongst every single Mandy player and is incredibly broken. Being able to increase your main attack projectile speed is going to make it way easier when playing Mandy. The enemies will have a tougher time dodging your attacks sucks since they'll be traveling immensely quicker, and it'll just be incredibly frustrating to deal with good Mandy players. Now before Mandy's buff and her fix recently, like this star power was the only thing keeping her somewhat relevant. Mandy relies a lot on her focus, like I stated earlier, to get that increased range, helping her outrange pretty much everybody in the game, right? But she also heavily relies on in my sights so that she can make her projectiles even faster while stacking on the increased range. I mean, right now Mandy is the strongest she's ever been inside of Brawl Stars. Now in order to counter this star power, I would recommend just trying to keep Mandy constantly moving. As long as you can keep Mandy low and moving around the map, then she can't get the increased projectile speed from the star power. Now obviously this is hard when Mandy outranges your entire comp, but you need to use walls, obstacles, bushes, whatever you gotta do to get Mandy down. But okay, that's gonna be for Mandy's first star power. Let's go and talk about her second star power, Hard Candy. When Mandy's focus bar is charged, she gains a shield that reduces all damage she takes by 40%. The shield will disappear after Mandy starts moving again. Now this star power can be useful when facing other snipers or long range sharpshooters. Think about it, since these types of brawlers can also deal a lot of damage at a long range, then you might want the shield to help you stay alive. This will allow you to tank more damage while focused, thus helping you continue the pressure with the additional range. Now this star power can also be good when firing at a stationary target. If you know that you're playing on a game mode like Heist and can just fire away at a stationary target that isn't moving, there is no point in needing the additional projectile speed from the In My Sight star power. The shield will also allow you to stay alive longer so you can deal more damage onto the safe or whatever you are shooting at. Now no matter what I say, this star power is not going to be better than In My Sights. The value of increasing your projectile speed with In My Sights is just too good to not take advantage of. It makes it harder for the enemies to dodge your shots and is way more valuable than having a shield when focused. Even though the shield is good to have, with Mandy's buff to her projectile speed and fix recently, you don't have to be focused as much as before because her projectiles now fire way faster. Now to counter Hard Candy, just target Mandy down hard. If you see somebody running this star power with Mandy, well, one, they probably are terrible, but two, they will probably try to stay focused as long as they can without dying to get the benefit from the star power. So this will make Mandy an easy target to take down despite the 40% damage reduction shield. Now the build I'd recommend you guys use with Mandy is running the Cookie Crumbs gadget, the In My Sight star power. The first gear I am going to recommend is going to be the shield gear. Now Mandy doesn't have a lot of health, so especially when she's being pressed hard by aggro brawlers or getting chipped down from a long range, she needs to have the additional health to stay alive. Now the second gear is kind of controversial. I would recommend damage because like I said, she doesn't have a lot of damage, so if she's lower in health then she can deal more damage to get the enemies down, but she can also benefit from the gadget charge gear. Since Cookie Crumbs is such a good gadget, having an additional one to hit enemies through those walls can really come in clutch in a lot of different interactions. Well anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that video, I highly recommend you guys go check out this video right here.